Hey, so today we're going to talk about forms and WooCommerce notifications that maybe don't arrive from your website. Emails that you think are going to show up in your inbox and in your clients' or customers' inboxes, and they don't show up. So if you've ever had a form on your own website or had a customer place an order and then no email arrived, you'll know how frustrating it is. Or maybe you've had a client say that they filled out a contact form, but they never heard back from you, and you're thinking, but I never got it either. So today I'm going to talk about something that sounds a little bit techy, but actually is an important kind of set it once and forget it. It's one of those things that you can do on your website once and then you don't need to do it again. It's called SMTP, and it stands for Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. And basically, it's the standard way that emails are sent from one place to another on the internet. And when you send an email from your email app or from your website or from a system like WooCommerce, it is going to use SMTP, which is a set of rules that basically says, this is how we're going to pass the message from the sender to the recipient. And so what is actually happening behind the scenes? Let's just think about this in the most simple kind of way. By default, WordPress sends emails in a very basic way. It just kind of shouts out to the internet and it hopes for the best. And so that can work sometimes, and it can work for a period of time, but it's unreliable. And so sometimes that's why contact form emails go missing, or WooCommerce notifications stop arriving, or password reset emails just never show up, or everything suddenly breaks after some kind of update, whether it's a WooCommerce plugin update or a WordPress update. And email providers like Gmail, Outlook, Yahoo, they're much stricter now. And if they don't trust where an email came from, then they simply won't deliver it. And that's why the WordPress default way of sending these notifications are no longer as reliable as they could be. And so what those providers are basically saying is, I don't know who you are, and so I'm not going to let you into the inbox. And so what SMTP actually will do for you with that is it just creates a proper delivery service for your website's emails. And so instead of your website just trying to send emails on its own, SMTP is going to connect your website to a real authenticated email account or service. And so emails come from a real email address. They are properly verified, and they are far more likely to actually land in an inbox. And so you can think of it as like the difference between dropping a letter through a random door versus sending it through Royal Mail with a return address. So it's just a more guaranteed delivery service. So who needs an SMTP plugin? If your website does any of the following, then an SMTP plugin is going to be a really good idea for you. So if you have a contact form on your website, this, by the way, a contact form is different from an opt-in form. So your opt-in form has a completely different mechanism and a completely different purpose than a contact form. Contact form is where someone fills it out. They may leave a message and say, I'm looking for a quote for X, Y, and Z, whatever your service is. So that's a contact form, and you're hoping that you will receive notification of that inquiry. And if you don't, then you're going to miss out on that as a potential new client. So if you have a contact form, if you have any kind of booking confirmation on your website that is sent through your website, not through a third party like Calendly or Acuity, that will be dealt with on that third party platform. But if it's coming directly from your website, then this applies to you. If you send password reset emails, if your website enables that, then this is important as well. If you have an e-commerce store where it sends out notifications of purchases to you and your customer, or if you send out any kind of course login, so if you're using any like a course plugin platform, so like Lifter LMS or I'm trying to think, MemberPress. So those kind of confirmations was sent out directly from your website. Or if you have any kind of automation or notifications directly from your website. If your website sends emails at all, then what I'm going to talk about and what I'm going to show you applies to you. And the reason why lots of people don't realize it's missing is that your site can work perfectly for months or even years without SMTP. And then all of a sudden, it might be that you notice that the notifications aren't coming through, and it might be through an update that WordPress does, or WooCommerce runs an update, or your host changes something, or the email providers that are meant to be receiving the emails suddenly tighten up their security. And suddenly then those emails stop. And then it might be days, weeks, or even months later before you notice. Because nothing necessarily looks broken. It's just that important messages are disappearing and you're not noticing they're not coming through. So what an SMTP plugin can do for you is basically it can tell WordPress how to send the emails properly. And it proves that the email is coming from a trusted source, and it just massively improves deliverability. And it often also lets you log or test emails too. So if one of these things it's one of those things that really you don't necessarily notice when it's working, but you definitely do notice when it's not working, but you don't always notice straight away. So if you're thinking, this sounds really technical, then I promise you it doesn't have to be, like I said before, it's a do it once, and then that's it done. And most SMT plugins they have like a step-by-step wizard. Most of the information that you put in there is copy and paste. And once it's done, then you don't need to come back and touch it again. And it can save you from those missed inquiries. It can save you from lost orders, or that uncomfortable, I never got your email kind of conversation, or I never got your notification that you sent through a form. So let's work you through the next steps. If you're not sure whether your website is using SMTP or not, you can go ahead and check your plugins, or try sending yourself a test email from your site. And this is one of the things that I recommend you do regularly anyway. It's just run test form submissions, run through a test transaction if you're using something like WooCommerce. And then if the email doesn't arrive, or if it feels a bit unreliable, then your SMTP plugin area is the first thing that I would look at. So you can go into your plugins area and in your website, and we'll have a look in plugins in a moment, and you can go into the plugins and just check if you've got anything that looks like it is talking about SMTP. So those are the first things that we're going to do. And then now I'm going to pop over and I'm going to show you my dashboard and where you can go ahead and start adding in these SMTP plugins. So let me just add this to the screen. Let's have a look. You don't actually need me on here. Hang on. Let's get it to a point where I disappear completely. Here you go. So let's have a look. So here, it's not a totally clean installation, but it's a relatively clean one. So down here, you're going to come over to plugins. And if you were checking your install plugins to see if you've got an SMTP plugin in there, it will have the words SMTP in the title. Then this is where you can look. But I'm going to click on to add plugin. And this is where we're going to come over. And this is where we are going to go ahead and we're going to search for WP Mail SMTP. And there are several others. This is one that is very highly thought of. You can see it's got over 4 million active installations. It's got nearly 5,000 5-star reviews. It's been updated recently, and it is compatible with my version of WordPress. So all of that is a really good indication that this is a good, reliable plugin. So I can go ahead and click on install now. And once it has installed, I'm going to activate it. And so what you should know is it's really beginner friendly. It's going to explain everything clearly. The principles are the same, whichever plugin you choose to use. But this plugin, I just want to make it clear, it doesn't actually send emails itself. It's actually just telling WordPress how to send them properly, because without it, as I mentioned before, WordPress just tries its luck. But once you've got an SMTP plugin, you're giving it clear instructions. And so let's go through this setup wizard. It looks long, but most of it's just choices. And really, once we click on get going, get started, this is the key decision here. What service is going to send your website emails? And there's lots and lots of different services. They've got recommended mailers here that you can use. You might be using Google or Gmail. That's a choice that you can make. If you're using your domain name, one associated with your domain name, so for me, it might be hello@thewebsitementor.com. I'm going to choose other SMTP. And the reason for that is because I can then go ahead and grab it from my hosting account, and I'll show you where that is. So when I click on other SMTP, then I can go ahead and click on save and continue. Now, I want to just draw your attention to this warning that you might notice, because it says that it's less secure than other mailers. And so that might sound a little bit alarming if you don't understand the context. It's not meaning that it's unsafe or risky for normal websites. It just means that the methods use standard email login credentials rather than a more complex API connection, which is what larger sending services would be using. So if you'd chosen something like Brevo or Mailgun, you'd be connecting it via API. So really, it's absolutely fine unless you are using it for really high complex or high volume emails, big e-commerce sites, or a business that's sending thousands of emails a day from their forms and those kind of things. So for most small business websites, contact forms, WooCommerce orders, booking notifications, other SMTP, which we've chosen here, is absolutely fine. It's secure enough for the vast majority of small businesses, and it's still far more reliable and safer than just WordPress trying to send the emails willy-nilly on its own. So, and it does mention about email limits here, but that's really just saying that if you're sending hundreds or thousands of emails a day, you'd probably want a different setup. And most of the sites that I work on send maybe a handful of form submissions or order confirmations and the occasional system emails, which is nowhere near the level where this is going to become any kind of a problem. And I've worked on lots and lots of sites, hundreds of client sites over the years, like coaches, therapists, small business owners, small WooCommerce shops. And it works really reliably when it's configured properly. And if you were to outgrow this setup, it's really quite straightforward to switch it. So the place where you would go ahead and grab this is from your hosting provider. You would grab the outgoing server configuration. And I'm going to stop sharing this for a second, and I'm going to come and share my SiteGround account with you. Let me just come back to StreamYard and set up that. Sorry, you're not seeing me, are you? Here we go. I'm just going to set up the, so that you can see SiteGround. So here is my SiteGround account. And if I come over to any of these websites, now some of these websites are like very small test websites. So like this one, I'm going to just choose this one. If you go to the site tools of your website, then you're going to go to the mail settings. This is where you're going to grab everything. So if it goes to email accounts, here you can see your email configuration, and you can see your incoming server and your outgoing server. You can also see the ports. So the outgoing server setting, this is what you would grab. So I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to come back. You can also just make a note that the SMTP port is 465, because you will also need that. But let me just stop this screen share and come back and share that other screen with you. Oh, I'm not sure if I was even sharing that. Was I sharing? I'm hoping that I was sharing that with you. So I'm going to screen share now, and I'm going to go back to this. I'm hoping, let me just check on StreamYard that this is sharing with you. Okay, it is good. Let me just make it full screen. And so in here, this is where you would add in that SMTP host. Now, for encryption, you can choose either SSL or TLS. And in fact, if you choose SSL, which is the port that we looked at, 465, that's what was in SiteGround, you could leave that, and then you can actually enable the auto TLS. And what this is doing is basically if TLS is available, it will be used, because you'll often see advice saying that TLS is recommended. And that's just because it's a more modern standard. SSL is older, still works, but TLS is generally preferred when it is supported. And the good news is that we really don't need to overthink this. We just need the right combination. So encryption and port always go together. So the encryption is the SSL or the TLS, and then the port number. And as long as those are paired up and married up, then you're absolutely fine. So you can have a plan A where you put in the SSL, knowing that it will default to the TLS if it is available, if you've got this here checked. So once we've got that, we can then enable the authentication. Then the SMTP username, this is your email address. So in here, you would add in your email address and then the password for that email. And I actually don't have my email address and password to hand. So I'm going to leave those as they are, just so that it's got something that it's pulling through. And you can add in whatever your project name is. So for me, I would put in the website mentor here. And you can force this name. So if you're sending out notifications and they're going out from another plugin, for example, this, if you force it, will override any of the settings on that third-party plugin. Then you're going to have the from email address. This is going to be the email address that the emails appear to be sent from. And again, you can force it. So I'm going to click on save and continue. Now, I already know that this configuration is going to fail because I didn't add in a correct username and password, but I'm going to trust that you will set that up correctly. And in here, you can enable certain features and you can disable certain features. So here, these are, you can't click on these because these are set by default. So this is going to ensure that your emails are sent reliably and successfully, and it's going to spot errors that might cause delivery issues. So here it's asking if you want to install WP Forms plugin. I can uncheck that, and you can opt to receive a weekly email summary if you want to, or you can disable that. It's quite useful to receive that, so I would just leave that checked. Then this is what we call a freemium plugin. So you can use it for free, but if you want to upgrade to the pro version, then you can. And then if you do, these options will be unlocked for you. It's fine to just use the free version. So then you're going to click on save and continue. This is just asking for you to opt in, basically. So I'm going to skip that step. If you are on the pro version, then you will go ahead and add in your license key here. If you are on the free version, which I'm just using now, which is what I'm showing you, then you don't need a license key and you can skip this step. And now it's going to check the configuration. It's told me that it hasn't configured it correctly, that I've made some kind of mistake. And then you can go ahead and you can start troubleshooting. But hopefully, if you've entered in all of your details correctly, including that username, which is your email address, and the password for that email address, then it's going to set it up successfully. And if it doesn't, you can start troubleshooting by clicking on here. And it also, when you click on that, it gives you options for support. So once you've got all that done, you can go ahead and click on finish setup. And then that's it. Then you are totally done. And that's all that you need to do. And you would then have your SMTP set up correctly, and your emails should, in theory, start to land back in your inbox as you're expecting them to, and in your client's inbox if you're expecting them to get notifications as well. But what I would really stress is that you should run a test. So every time you set up anything new on your website, just test that it's working correctly. And if you're watching this and you're thinking, oh, I'm not sure if I could do that on my own, then I wouldn't worry about it. It's one of those setups that you only do once. And it just means that your forms, your order processing, your bookings, your password resets, they're just in safer hands once you have got this set up. And if you're feeling like you want an extra set of eyes on it, this is something that we could do in one of my 25-minute mini boost sessions. We could sort it out together. If you're happy doing it yourself, then that's great. Just make sure that all these pieces that we've been through together is in place. I will pop a link to my mini boost sessions below this video, so you can go ahead and have a look and see if you want to book one of those, if you need my help. But this is something that you can definitely get set up on your own, and then you can just rest assured that it's done and you don't need to come back to it and do it again. Okay, I hope that was helpful. And let me know if this is something that you then go ahead and set up. I would love to know if this is something that you didn't realize you needed and now you're going to go ahead and set it up, or if it's something that you realize you needed because your emails are unreliable coming from your website and now you have a bit of clarity to move forward. It'd be great to know that. Thank you so much for watching.